Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be the last Friday Q&A for 2019. I will resume Friday Q&A at some point in 2020, maybe the first or second week of January. So if you've got questions you would like me to answer in that Q&A, whenever it happens, put them in the comments. Thank you to everybody who has contributed questions over the year. I always get a kick out of doing these videos. And yeah, it's kind of like one thing in the week that I always look forward to. I never know what people are going to ask, and I never know what I'm going to say or think of. So it's a little bit off the cuff. I tend to ramble, and I really appreciate that you guys stick around and watch this stuff. I've got 2 more shows for the year. I've got one tonight and one tomorrow night. And I just restrung this guitar. It's a 93 Hamer USA Special. It's just such a rock pig of a guitar. Duncan P90s. The action's a little bit high. The strings are pretty heavy. It's down in D, but it sounds really, really good. I haven't played it live for years, but I've really been enjoying it, and I'm going to play it live tonight. And it sounds like this. Nice and thick and spanky there. I really forgot how much I enjoy this guitar. Why am I telling you about this guitar? I just figured you guys might like to hear it. Let's answer some questions. My favorite Warren DeMartini and Ratt solos, all of them. Can I say that? Because Warren's such an incredible guitar player. Him and George Lynch, for me, the 2 guitar players, and John Sykes probably, the 3 Yngwie Malmsteen, Red Beach. All right, there's a lot of guitar players from the 80s I love and have tried to sound like over the years, but to me, kind of Warren's style made sense anytime I tried to learn some of his licks. Essentially, if you just take like the blues scale or the Dorian mode and cram them together and throw in a bunch of major thirds as well, you kind of get the Warren style and the George Lynch style, some big stretches and stuff, you know, the... Really, really cool. Obviously, Round and Round. I've played Round and Round a few times live, and I love that harmony section in there. Back for More has a great solo in it, the way it's kind of split up into 2 sections and how he just really tucks into one section with lots of kind of cool, it's almost like ZZ Top sort of stuff. He's doing a lot of pinched harmonics or Michael Schenker or something like that, and then he kind of just rips Warren style. Nobody Rides for Free. That lick at the start, is super, super rad. I love that. It's kind of like Jimmy Page on steroids or something like that. In terms of other songs, Wanted Man has a great solo in it. I love that one. Basically anything off the first couple of albums. Way Cool Juniors, really, really cool as well. Less the solo and more that kind of riff he plays at the start, if I can even remember it. Drop My Pick. That was kind of cool, you know, just before grunge hit, a lot of these kind of hair bands, I think they kind of took the Tesla approach or the Guns N' Roses approach and they stripped stuff back and they got bluesier. If you're thinking like Badlands, got to try to play that riff from High Wire. I better turn all the effects off on this. You know, the Badlands album, Cry of Love, that was a great album. Just a lot of bands either came out who had this kind of stripped down sound, or a lot of bands kind of like redid their sound, or you got like Skid Row and Saigon Kick who got heavier, which was pretty cool. I guess kind of Pantera were a hair metal band in the 80s, and then they became the heavy band of the 90s. Anyway, Badlands, totally unrelated. But yeah, all those guys from that era, big, big influence on me. Did I even list 5 Ratt solos? I don't know. But yeah, go and listen to some DiMartini and some Jake E. Lee and all these great players. I think Jake E. Lee was in Ratt for a while. It was the LA scene. It was pretty interconnected back then. So talking about rambling answers, there you go. Trying other people's presets on the channel. It's something I have probably done before once or twice, and very early on in the process, I kind of realized that it's not something I want to spend a lot of time doing because different guitars, different players, different playback systems. The fact that, when you dial in a preset, it's dialed in context. And when you remove the context, the preset might not sound good, whatever good means. So it's one of those things I've kind of shied away from. And I don't have heaps of time to try out different presets and get them to work because I'm impatient and lazy and I have a lot of other things and kind of other videos to do. So while it's something I would like to do, it's something I haven't found very productive in the past. So probably just weasel my way out of it any way that I can. And there's so many different modelers now. I don't own all of them. So if someone wants to send me like a Kemper profile, I can't try it at home unless I call up my buddy and borrow his Kemper, which is not a great use of time. So yeah, nah, I think is the answer there. Bands that I learned to love. The person who asked this question used My Chemical Romance as an example. And they're a good example of that. There's so much music from that era that I kind of wrote off because when I was a teenager, I just wanted to be in Megadeth. So anything which wasn't like, metal or like hardcore rock and roll wasn't in the wheelhouse. I didn't even consider it. But a lot of that era, a lot of that kind of emo screamo stuff. I remember one of my best friends in high school was really into a band called Anne Boleyn. I remember hearing, going, I don't like this. And then a couple of years later, hearing their album Cities and just going, oh my God, this is so amazing. And really, really getting into them. Circa Survive and Seosin, all those kind of like, I'd call them MySpace bands that at the time they were big. I didn't get it. But I think I get it now and I really do enjoy it. Nickelback are another band that people love to crap on who actually have some pretty good stuff. And, the big criticism with them is like, oh, but the lyrics are like vacuous and they suck. And then the same people will go and listen to a Motley Crue song and love it. And I mean, the lyrical content is pretty comparable there. So if we're not going for like deep philosophical meanings there. So they're a band there. A lot of the whole grunge era, like Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, I was late to the party there. Even Nirvana, like they weren't a very influential band on me. And I've come around to understanding why so many people love those bands. Because when I was growing up, I just wanted, like I said, it was either like thrash metal or hair metal or blues or classic rock or something. Anything outside of that, I wasn't too into. The hair metal stuff because it had amazing guitar playing. The thrash metal stuff because it had amazing guitar playing. I was just like a guitar head. I was seeing everything through the lens of the electric guitar. And I think now I'm certainly slightly more open-minded and I just like to hear music. The future of gear. This is a good question because I really, really have been meaning to put together like the decade in gear. And it's been a pretty hard video to put together because there's so many things that have stayed consistent and there's so many things that have changed. I think one very interesting thing that I imagine will kind of trickle down into the audio world is going to be like deep learning stuff. So neural networks, machine learning, all that kind of stuff for, imagine something like a Kemper, but paired with machine learning algorithms. So you could just hook it up to your amp and leave it for an hour and it could make an incredibly detailed profile of it, or something like an Axe Effects, where you could like profile your own playing. So like it keeps a record of, when you're playing all the kind of different guitars that you use, your playing dynamics, and it can become this kind of like adaptive sort of thing. That would be really, really interesting. I think in terms of like gear and the actual like music industry innovating in terms of that, there's not been a whole lot of innovation over the last, realistically like 25, 30 years coming from the industry itself. It's all stuff that has kind of come in from other areas. Mostly it's been the big tech sector. Like if you look at the reason why the record business is totally stuffed, it's because, the big labels didn't do anything to innovate. It's been disruption from the tech sector. And I imagine that will probably continue. I'm just trying to look at like big picture things rather than like, I think, Ratt-based overdrives are going to be the thing for the next 10 years, guys. honestly, with these kind of things, you can't really make too many predictions, but it would be cool to see what happens, whether we see advancement with like all this kind of technology. You know, modelers, I think, will continue to be a mainstay. I don't necessarily think that tube amps are going to die or anything like that. It really just depends on, you know, taste. So much of gear realistically just comes down to taste with guitar players. Guitar players are pretty conservative. A lot of them are very set in their tastes, and it'll be interesting to see if, you know, like composite guitars finally become a thing. If we have 4-string guitars become a thing, you know, as a kickback against extended range guitars. Kind of part of the fun of the future is that you can never really know what's going to happen. But my one prediction is that like plugins and digital modeling and all this kind of stuff is going to get scarily good because of advancements in this kind of, you know, deep learning kind of stuff that tech companies are investing heavily with. So yeah, they will probably mine all your data and use it to sell you these deep learning tools. I don't know. And also, like, it'll be interesting to see what happens with platforms like YouTube, how long they continue to stick around, what the next big thing is, how people consume information, how we, you know, learn about new gear and things like that. Because that has changed massively in the past decade. The internet really became the thing. You know, there's so many music channels which are basically just, you know, telemarketing. You know, it's like the only thing that certain channels upload are, you know, paid gear reviews. And whereas maybe 10 years ago, YouTube was all about just uploading insane playing and trying to impress all your friends that way. So yeah, future of gear, I don't know. What a non-committal, sitting on the fence, getting a wedgie from it answer. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. I hope you have a magnificent Christmas, if that's something that you celebrate, a magnificent Festivus, if not, and a great holiday season. Stay safe, be good to one another. I will see you guys very soon.